The flight into McCarran Airport at Las Vegas was spectacular, with clear aerial views of desert, canyons, and Hoover Dam. We arrived in Las Vegas around 8 a.m. and spent most of the day wandering the Strip until we were allowed to check into our hotel, Treasure Island, at 3:30. We went from one casino hotel to another, most of which included an extensive shopping mall and getting lunch at a food court in Caesar's Palace, then went to the Bellagio to take in the dancing waters. Even in the early morning and midday, Vegas is noisy and busy both outside and in, with people in all manner of dress and undress crowding the streets, gambling, drinking, and playing the slots at all hours. We quickly became aware that everything in Vegas is very expensive. We were told that Vegas doesn't really get started until 11 p.m. It was interesting to see that some of the familiar table games are now automated. Our room overlooked a huge fashion show mall and a view of A Trump Tower. This first evening we met Andrew, our tour director, and had a get-together with the rest of our travel mates. Early Monday morning, the 40 of us boarded our bus for the 280-mile trip to the Grand Canyon. Along the way, we made a couple of rest stops. One of these was at a town along Route 66 called Sleegelman, Arizona. This town consisted of a number of seemingly tumble-down gift shops housing mostly Route 66 memorabilia. It seems that the town just wakes up for the passing tour buses, then goes dormant when the tourists leave. Anyway, its main attraction is the Tow-Mater tow truck from the movie Cars. Our last stop before arriving at the Grand Canyon was Williams, Arizona, another town along old Route 66 where we stopped for lunch. Williams is most noted for the train service that takes passengers to the Grand Canyon and has lots of shops and restaurants in a Route 66 era motif. Arriving at the Grand Canyon, we made a brief photo stop at Mather Point, then on to our assigned rooms in the Thunderbird Lodge, located on the south rim between the Bright Angel Lodge and El Tovar Hotel. We had plenty of time to walk the trails and take pictures before dinner in the Arizona Room restaurant. After dinner, many of us went out to take in the spectacular sunset. The next day, many of us got out early to photograph the sunrise at 5:15 a.m. before having breakfast at the Bright Angel Lodge and departing for the 138-mile trip to Lake Powell, our next stop. On the road to Lake Powell, on day 3 of our tour, we stopped at the east rim of the canyon for a photo opportunity, then further down the road traveled through part of the 240,000 square mile Navajo Nation. We stopped at the Cameron Trading Post for lunch. Some of us bought sandwiches at the convenience grocery and ate them at a picnic table in a nice little garden. Before arriving at our accommodations at Lake Powell Resort, we stopped at the Glen Canyon Dam Visitor Center. We were dropped off on one side of the bridge and walked across the bridge to the visitor center. Arriving at the Lake Powell Resort and Marina, we checked into our room, then boarded a boat for a cruise around the lake to near the top of the Glen Canyon Dam, then navigating the narrow waterways around Antelope Canyon. On day 4 of our adventure, we took the raft float trip down the Colorado River from the Glen Canyon Dam down to Horseshoe Bend and back, stopping to view the ancient petroglyphs carved into the canyon wall. Back at the Lake Powell Resort, we had time to enjoy the hot tub and relax before dinner. Later, we took a short hike crossing the state line into Utah. It was a dusty and rough ride in the back of a four-wheel drive Jeep to view Slot Canyon. Our Navajo guide was an expert in camera technology and helped us to get the best pictures. This slot canyon was carved out by water that occasionally rushes through to sculpt the soft sandstone into the unique and beautiful patterns. On day 5 of our tour, we left Lake Powell for the 141-mile trip through Navajo country to Monument Valley. Along the way, we stopped to hike Canyon Trail at the Navajo National Monument, down to a spot to view an abandoned cliff dwellers village built into a natural alcove. Arriving in Monument Valley, we stayed at Golding's Lodge. The lodge is nestled in among the sandstone cliffs, and we had a spectacular view of the valley from our room. Golding's Lodge includes a dining room, trading post, a small movie theater showing old westerns, a museum of mostly movie and commercial memorabilia, and John Wayne's cabin that was used in the movie She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. The Navajo cookout dinner was special and included a talk by a Navajo woman who told us about her life in the Navajo Nation and the revival of their native language. She sang us a Navajo song and taught us to do a rain dance. Some say it rained after that, but it may have been only rocks falling on the tin roof of the dining shelter. After a brief visit to a Navajo hogan, we made our way in the back of a four-wheel drive Jeep for a tour of Monument Valley, with many stops along the way to take in the majesty of this place. On the way out of Monument Valley for the 165-mile trip to Moab, Utah, we stopped at a now iconic spot in the road made famous in the Forrest Gump movie, where he delivered the line, "I'm pretty tired. I think I'll go home now." Everyone had to get a picture while trying not to get run over by traffic. Andrew kept us out of harm's way by serving as lookout. After stopping for lunch in Moab, we made our way to the Red Cliffs Lodge. Red Cliffs Lodge sits high on the banks of the Colorado River, surrounded by cliffs and situated where such Western favorites as Wagon Master and Rio Grande were filmed. The lodge is a working ranch and features a small museum of photos and posters memorializing many Western films and TV commercials. Our first night at Red Cliffs, we enjoyed a wine tasting and dinner. The seventh day of our tour, we visited the Balanced Rock Formation, Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park, and Dead Horse State Park. It is reported that Arches has some 2,000 natural sandstone arches. We only visited a few, so the rest will have to remain for another visit. The few arches we did see were spectacular and probably the most famous, given the number of visitors at the site in the early morning. At Canyonlands, we noticed these little pile of rocks people had made tucked away in small alcoves and elsewhere. The meaning of these is a mystery. On day 8, we traveled 281 miles from Moab to Bryce Canyon National Park, with a brief photo stop at Big Rock Candy Mountain, most notable as a song by the same name sung by Burl Ives. At Bryce Canyon, we hiked the Rim Trail or took the bus to several overlook areas. The formations in Bryce Canyon are unique, having been formed by the slow erosion of wind and water. These fantastically sculpted rock formations resemble castle towers or cathedral spires. The natural amphitheater and canyon glow from different lighting that changes by the minute. The collection of alcoves around the rim is called a grotto, and the bulbous spires are referred to as hoodoos. These are the result of erosion of the narrow cliff walls to create fins. These fins are further eroded by frost wedging, which enlarges the cracks, creating holes or windows. Eventually, the tops collapse, leaving a column. Rain further dissolves and sculpts these limestone pillars into hoodoos. On day 9 of our tour, we made the short ride from Bryce to Zion National Park, stopping briefly to see Checkerboard Mesa. We made a couple of stops in the park before reaching Zion Lodge, where we had lunch, and then took the shuttle to the trailhead leading to the Temple of Sinawava site. The trail followed the Virgin River about 1 mile to the end. There were lots more trails to explore, but it was hot, and after the 2-mile round-trip hike, we were worn out. So we took the shuttle back to the lodge and just hung out until it was time for the group photo. On day 10, we made our way the 121 miles from St. George, Utah, where we had spent the night, to Las Vegas. Our last canyon stop along the way was at Snow Canyon State Park. The paved trail we hiked past some volcanic rocks, evidence of volcanic lava flows in the area sometime in the past. Leaving Las Vegas in the early morning, we got a great bird's-eye view of some of the canyon lands we had just visited.